I'm with Martin Gillard from Sussex Friends of Israel. Now, Martin, you're a group of people with a heart for Israel. Which city do you go out onto the streets?
Brighton in Sussex in southern England.
Now, over the past year, has it become more increasingly hostile as you've been out on the streets?
Yes, it has, Paul. We've been going for 11 years, the Sussex Friends of Israel. And recently we've teamed up with a Jewish group, which has been formed as a reaction to the October the 7th, 23 tragedy. They're called Jewish and Proud. So there are about 30 of us go out now every fortnight into the centre of Brighton, an area called the Clock Tower. The Sussex Friends of Israel have been going for 11 years. So this isn't a sort of a protest group which has come about because of the October the 7th tragedy. It's something that's existed for some time to do street advocacy on behalf of the Jewish people, on behalf of the state of Israel. And we have always been a sort of an information group. You know, we've had leaflets that we pass out showing how Israel contributes to the world. We've sort of been a group to encourage people to a better understanding of Israel. This has changed over the last 12 months quite drastically. There's an awful lot of animosity. And the animosity mostly comes from the Palestinian Solidarity Campaign here in Brighton. The PSC, they're known as, BDS PSC, they exist in most towns in this country now. This is quite a left-wing city, so the PSC is quite big in this town, very, very active, very noisy, very aggressive. And very often we are there at the same time as them. By the way, I have spoken to you before on this topic, and I forgot to tell you at that point that we have the Sussex Friends of Israel have quite a big online presence now as well. In many ways, that's our biggest presence now. We now have 64,000 followers on YouTube. We have people respond to our fortnightly meetings via our videos that we post after the meetings, via other posts that we put on. We get a lot of interest from people, including from Israel, quite a lot of comments and support from Israel. So that's the background to us.
You were out on the streets on the 9th of November. What actually happened on that day?
Well, it was a normal meeting at the Clock Tower. The Palestinian Solidarity Campaign were there, and we're there for 2 hours every other Saturday between 12 and 2. And during those 2 hours, there are quite a few, their numbers swell because quite a lot of passers-by join them and they're chanting free Palestine, etc., etc. Now, there is literally a wall, a low wall where people sit and not in a pedestrian area of Brighton. And that is actually useful for the police because the Palestinian groups stand on one side of the wall, we stand on the other, both with our flags. They are very aggressive. They are continually trying to come to us. The police on November the 9th were very poor. They have been very good. I mean, let's give the police their due here. They come to keep the peace, and we would not be safe without them there. We would get attacked. We wouldn't attack anybody. The Palestinian group would be quite safe from us, but we would not be safe from them. They're aggressive. They spit. They attack. They try and snatch our flags and break them up. The police have stopped most of that. On November the 9th, the police were not at their best. Let's put it that way. I'd almost go as far as to say they seemed uninterested. They weren't proactive in any way. They were allowing the Palestinian group to encroach on our space. They allowed spitting. They allowed one overt attack on one of our people. They actually broke it up, but they did nothing about it apart from tell us to go back. It was one of those times when you felt that they really had taken sides. And I say this with great regret because our relationship with the police is really important because we're peaceful people. We're not looking for trouble and we need them for our protection. But on this day, I don't know, they just seem to lack authority. They seem to lack any sense of being a presence, having the authoritative presence. Anyway, it was in this context near the end of the 2 hours that this man came goose-stepping through the middle of our group. And you've got to remember that most of our group now are Jewish. A lot of us are Christian. There are people with no affiliation. majority are Jewish. So this is a Man Goose stepping through a group of Jewish people and doing the Nazi salute. Now, I was standing right there, and my first reaction was, what's this? Sort of just for the split second, sort of, paralysis. What's this about? But one of our group quickly switched on to it and shouted. You've seen this on the video, I'm sure. Shouted out to them, you see that man? You've got to do something. He's crossing the street. He's going away, and the police did nothing, and it's on the video.
Did they
They
actually
did
see
not.
him and just do nothing?
Oh, they saw him. They saw him as clearly as we did. They weren't standing away at a distance. They were standing right next to us. So they saw what I saw as close as I saw it. The man just passed in front of me 1 foot away or 2 feet away, He went right through the group. So, well, maybe like us, they were like me, they were a little bit sort of shocked. So there was a little bit of a delay, but even when they were alerted to it, they did nothing. Well, what's wrong? What's wrong? Well, yeah, we saw it. Yeah, well, what's this? What do you mean? What's the matter? And you probably see one of our groups sort of getting quite angry with the police and shouting and saying, this is disgraceful. You've got to do something. Go and get him. It's a Jewish group, and he's giving a Nazi salute to them.
All
So
this on video, documented.
I know it's all on the video documented, which is why it's gone viral, is what they call it, isn't it? But what you have to do then, in my opinion, with a bit of distance now, 10 days later, why did the police not react? Now, one, you could say, well, they're youngsters, aren't they? They're young. Well, from my 76-year-old perspective, they're young. They're all young, as they say. But maybe their knowledge of history isn't that great. But I mean, they must know about the Holocaust. They must know why the Jewish people are out there. They must have that basic understanding. I'm sure if we did something which was, insulting to Muslims, holding up a picture of Muhammad and strolling through the middle of them, I mean, they would immediately pick up on that. I'm not suggesting that would ever happen. No one would even dream of doing it. But, they can't be that ignorant of what's acceptable and what's not, can they? So if they're not ignorant of what the significance of this man's actions were, you've got to ask themselves, well, are they just uninterested, or are they biased? Is there a bias? And once you ask that question, you move on to a much bigger topic, which is a national topic. It's in the press, it's online all the time now in this country, and it's referred to two-tier policing. Have you heard that expression?
Yes.
Two-tier policing.
Yes, I've heard it. Has this man was he arrested on the day? Did the police chase after him in the end?
No, he wasn't arrested. It was only because of the fuss that we caused, I think. Online, we had him on video. We found a photo. We sort of got a photo of his face. That was posted. The police then did take action, to be fair on them. They did get interested. They did become active. And in the end, about a few days ago, a 39-year-old man who has not been named walked into a police station and gave himself up because his picture was all over the papers. The video was being shown on the national press, was shown in the Daily Mail, which I think is either the biggest, has the biggest circulation, or its second biggest circulation of any newspaper in the country. So it really was mainstream now. It also appeared in the Daily Express, another big national paper. So the guy obviously realized, and now he has been charged. He has been charged with behavior likely to cause distress and hateful behavior, which is a crime. You can't go around putting people in fear of them. You can't do that. So, but no other details have been given. He has been charged. But then in this country, the law is that once someone's been charged, between being charged and going into court, you're not allowed to talk about the details of that person. You must allow any judgment must not be made in the press. It must be made in the court at the right time, which is important to the national conversation, actually. So this two-tier policing, one rule for one rule for the other, because the principle by which the police operate in this country that they treat everybody without fear or favor. Doesn't matter what you are, who you are, the color of your skin, the size of your bank account, whether you're a lord or a lowly person in society. The police treat you in the same way. But that is not happening in this country now. Absolutely not.
Must
Police,
be very happy that the newspapers took up this story. Which newspapers took it up?
as I say, the Daily Mail and the Daily Express, two big newspapers, got our video and put it out on their obvious, online. And they also had it was in the written version of the paper, that's still sold in the shops. But of course, most people now read newspapers online, so people were able to see the video online. But it also went viral on X, otherwise known as Twitter, where it's had 1.5 million views now, I think. At the time of speaking now, I haven't checked it, it may even be up to the 2 million mark. So it has gone viral, and a lot of people are interested in this because of the wider context of it. Paul, have you heard of the Manchester attack, which happened back
No.
in July? No. Well, this was at Manchester Airport, where two Muslim brothers
Yes, I
were
do. I
being
remember. Yes, I remember that. Yeah.
they were being arrested for something. Nothing serious. I don't think that's not become the issue anymore. The fact is, during the arrest, they turned on the police and were violent towards them. They hit two policewomen. They hit one straight in the face and broke her nose. Then they attacked the officers at the airport, who were firearm officers, because at certain sensitive areas, the British police do carry guns. Not normally. You'd never see it in Brighton. Never, ever, ever. Not in
Mm.
normal circle, but in an airport, you might see police armed, because it's such a sensitive place. And anyway, these two brothers tried to snatch the policeman's guns. And it was caught on video. I think it was CCTV, airport CCTV. And in order to neutralize one of these men, who by now was on the floor struggling with a policeman trying to get the policeman's gun, one of the other policemen stamped on the man's head. Now, normally, if you were arresting a shoplifter, stamping on their head would be, too much force. It would be criminal in itself. But when you've got somebody who's already laid out two police officers, broken one of their noses, is now going for a firearm, trying to neutralize them in any way seemed, but that's all that appeared in the press. And the mainstream media seem to be quite complicit in this two-tier policing, two-tier system we have. One rule for one rule for other. They were going after the police. They were making a judgment on the police. Look at this policeman kicking this poor young Muslim man in the face. But when the bigger picture video came out, it showed the brutal attack these men were making on the police, and the fact they were trying to get a firearm. So, that caused quite a bit of a stir. This country is already very concerned. People are very concerned about the amount of illegal immigration we're getting. Mostly young men from Syria, Afghanistan, from sub-Saharan Africa. A lot of young men. It's totally out of control. We're getting thousands a week during the summer in boats that are coming over from France. They are immediately put into hotels and given money and given priority over at a time, and our resources in this country are being stretched to the limit. The national health, the housing, it's something that's really concerning people. Doesn't mean people are racist. Most of us in this country are immigrants at some point. I mean, I'm British through and through now, but my family came from France a couple hundred years ago. That's my background. We're all immigrants, so we're not against immigration. We need it. It's our lifeblood. But illegal immigration is getting too much. And so this concern about, violence towards in our society by certain groups we're very sensitive to it.
I imagine now it's very important for you to have cameras when you're actually out on the street to
Oh,
protect you, but also to record evidence like what happened on this incident.
Well, you've absolutely hit it on the nail because this incident on November the 9th absolutely has confirmed that we've always had one person videoing. He videos almost constantly. But now we've realized that we all have to be videoing. I mean, obviously, it's not what we're there for because we've got our flags, we've got our pamphlets. We've got, we focus at the moment on the hostages and getting them freed and returning home. The yellow ribbon. We've got the yellow ribbon campaign here, and we're holding pictures of the hostages, and we're trying to inform people about that. So we're holding a flag. So it's not easy to hold a camera, but we realize that we have to for our own protection and absolutely vital. We all do. We've got to have 30 people with cameras, not just one. Everything has to be recorded now. It's got so bad.
Were there demonstrators actually holding from the river to the sea signs as well in that area?
Oh, they have all of that. The thing that has always characterized the pro-Palestinian people is that they don't talk. They won't talk to us at all. They won't engage. Everything is negative. There's nothing positive. We want peace. We want to support the Palestinian people by them having a peace. No, that nonsense. They're not like we say this. We say we support the Palestinian people because we want them to have freedom from these terrible extremist groups like Hamas and Hezbollah, the PIJ, the Palestinian Islamic Jihad group. I mean, they need freedom from them. They don't need freedom from Israel. I mean, they need freedom from these awful people in charge of their lives. But the PSC never say a word. Like everything is hatred of Israel. Everything's hatred of Israel. Israel, apartheid, a terrorist state, from the river to the sea. They don't overstep the line by calling for, not as a group, they don't start calling for sort of, the revolutionary intifada and all this sort of, they don't go that far. I don't think they'd understand quite what that is actually, but they are just full of hate. And they hate us, and they hate. Sometimes the mask slips, and you'll get. They assume we're all Jewish, so you'll get. Oh, I don't even say the words, but anti-Semitic, horrible things. Bloody this, that. You know what I mean. And so it can get very unpleasant. But we have got to record all of this from now on. We've got to report everything. It's getting too much. And if we try and have people in conversation, they'll drown us out. They have drums. They have sirens, and they'll chant, of course, the usual chants, free, free Palestine, 2468, all this sort of stuff. So, yeah, it's very unpleasant up there.
Anybody who hasn't seen this video, what's your Facebook page? What's your Twitter page for people who'd like to
Yes,
watch this video and see for themselves what happened on that day?
yes, they can see it on our Facebook page, which is the Sussex Friends of Israel. There are two Sussex Friends of Israel pages. So, and they both come up, but it'll be pretty obvious which is the one which is concentrating on our Saturday meetings. There's one that concentrates purely on our Saturday meetings, and that's where it is. You'd have to scroll down a bit now because in 10 days, we do quite a lot. We're quite active on it. But Sussex Friends of Israel, that's what they put in, and they can see this video. It's also
On
on
Twitter as
X.
well?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
can see it on there as well, and they can also see it on our Instagram page, which is they can either see it on the Sussex Friends of Israel Instagram page, or they can go on to the Friends and Allies of Israel page. So that's Instagram. So
Mm.
it is pretty accessible on that.
Well,
But
thank you very much, Martin, for sharing today.
Well, you're very welcome. I'm sorry I don't have sort of better news really, because if we're ending now, I will try and end on a positive note, and that is that, we are very steadfast, the Sussex Friends of Israel. We have links with other friends groups in Glasgow, in London. There's a Manchester group. All over the country, there are these Friends of Israel groups. And we are very positive. We are so proud of Israel and the way that it's standing, and the younger generation, bless them, who are out there, men and women, young men and young women who are out there on the front line, who are they're protecting all of us. They're out there on behalf of the whole of the West, in my opinion. I'm sorry to say that so many in the West, such as the PSC and the BDS and other far left groups like socialist workers, they do not realize that Israel is holding the line against something which is a threat to the whole of our Western Judeo-Christian civilization. And I don't think I'm overstating when I say that. And, we're doing our little bit down here in Brighton, and we won't
Yeah,
stop. Yeah,
great.
that's it.
Well, thank you, Martin,
Okay.
for sharing today.
You're very welcome, Paul. Nice to speak to you again.